we're going to move next to our stock up, stock down segment. We did this in week 4 of the season. Love this segment. Really, it's our opportunity to talk about what football we saw this week and what teams we think stock has rose, which team stock has gone down, who's neutral. I think, keeping the theme of this game, South Carolina's stock is way up. They're not necessarily playing for a playoff spot right now, but when you look at the football they've been playing the last couple of weeks against Oklahoma, and obviously in this game here, this defensive line is nasty. Kyle Kernard will be graduating, but some of these other guys will still be there going forward with Dylan Stewart, of course. This defense finally got them over the hump to get that win, and the offense, kind of built on that twofold in this game.
Yeah. And we're filming this on Sunday, but I want to put it out there. I think that we will see this team get a number beside them in the college football playoff rankings on Tuesday. No love in the AP, but I think that they'll see a number beside them playing solid. I see a world where they win out from here with Vanderbilt, Missouri, and Clemson. The Clemson team looked vulnerable this past weekend. What South Carolina is able to do could bode well for them in that game. So I think South Carolina definitely stock up.
Yeah, definitely stock up there. Lenore Sellers was able to limit some of the turnovers, so that probably helped a lot in this game as well. I mean, Raheem Sanders, there's a reason why he was a top SEC running back. Absolute dog. That boy, big as hell, right? To over 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, toting that thing. And so South Carolina stock is way up for me. When I think about the other side, Texas A&M right now for me, the stock is neutral. I don't think it take a super strong hit. What do you think about Texas A&M from a stock perspective?
I got A&M stock down a little bit. I know we just hyped them up and saying their praise on what they can do in the season. I think the stock is slightly down because we saw early on in the game the play calling and style of being so run heavy put them behind the 8 ball a couple times because it wasn't the smoothest offensive game plan. They put the ball on the ground a few times, especially with Le'Veon Moss maybe being out for a little while. Hard schedule left with Texas at the end of the season. I think they're trending down, but it's down from a high spot. So while slightly down, it's coming from a high position.
Definitely. Another great game that took place over the weekend was Tennessee versus Kentucky. So Tennessee was victorious, took place on SEC Network. It was pretty close the majority of the game, right? Yeah. Tennessee pulled away more at the end. We saw 2 different quarterbacks come in for Kentucky. Jamari Macklin was able to get his first touchdown of the season. Jeremy Macklin's cousin for Kentucky. When I think about this game and whose stock was, I would say slightly up, I'll give it to Tennessee based upon the defense. But if I could do positional rankings when it comes to stock up, stock down, the offense, while it looked good, still to me a little bit of a liability when it comes to where I think Tennessee wants to be. But I will give them stock up.
That's a good way to put it, where they want to be as opposed to where they're at. Yeah. I think that they have all potential to be even higher. Dylan Sampson still had a great game. All things considered by game end. I think Nico played better than he had. I think that they're trending up for me, but for a number 7 team in the country who will probably be right around that come Tuesday, I think that they could be better than they are, but they're moving in the right direction. I think that they looked smoother in this game than they did against Alabama, for example, which some people didn't agree with me on in the past couple of weeks.
Absolutely right. I mean, you got to see Brew McCoy involved at the receiver position for Tennessee. You watch the game, you hear the Brews cheers in the crowd, right? You got Dylan Sampson got 2 touchdowns, so he's going to get his every game. Nico didn't have any interceptions this game. He had 1 touchdown in the game. The offense put together plays when it mattered, but when you look at the game, the first 4 drives, it was like missed field goal, punt. There's just more opportunity there, but they're so strong on defense, and they're just obviously a very well-coached team where they're winning games. They deserve the number 7 spot. So I'll put their stock up. I thought this was going to be a big opportunity for them to win kind of in a Florida-Kentucky style.
Yeah. And Kentucky did well to stay in the game. They managed. I'd say Kentucky, for me, it's just I can't put their stock up. I don't think that they're improving in any way. I don't necessarily know if they're down. I'd say that the defense has been trending down week over week on the season. This one a little bit better, but Tennessee's has a propensity to kind of put themselves in these situations without the defense's help. So I'd say Kentucky's neutral, maybe trending down, but I wouldn't put like a whole lot of confidence or like passion behind that.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with you. Another team that I will put some confidence behind, that stock is definitely up, and I think you know who I'm going to say, Hotty Toddy, Jackson Dart, 500 and things yards wise. So second quarterback in the SEC all time to have over 500 passing yards. Drew Lock being the other guy from Missouri. Ole Miss looked super impressive. This offense looked like the offense we've seen earlier in the season. Best offensive performance of the season. Watkins at receiver looked pretty dominant. And November is the best time to be playing your best football. And so if they look like that, they beat Arkansas much better than LSU did. This could be a dangerous team. Their stock is way up for me.
Yeah, if they wanted it, they took it. That's all I got to say about the way the Ole Miss team played. If they wanted it, they were going to get it. And that's the deep ball. That is a sack. That is the safety to start early on in the game to really kill any momentum that Arkansas could have ever had. It didn't help Arkansas that Taylor Green was rattled, shaken up, and ended up having to sit out of the game. But Ole Miss did what they wanted to do. I mean, play in and play out. 63 points. I mean,
It was theirs. It was theirs. I mean, they absolutely dominated. Watkins had a record performance for Ole Miss at receiver. So Jackson Dart just looked incredible. This could be a really dangerous team if they keep playing like this. I'm looking at Ole Miss's schedule. So they looks like, Florida and Mississippi State left. And of course, UGA. We'll see what they can do with those upcoming three opponents. So
I think how I feel about Georgia. And we can maybe jump there in a little bit, but I think that could be a game for them to take, especially with the defensive pressure that they put out.
Definitely. Georgia's a team that is shown to play up or down to their competition. And so we'll definitely we'll get to Georgia in the stock up, stock down segment we got going on right now. For Arkansas on the other side of this game, unfortunately, we've been really high on them all season. I got to say stock down. Giving up that much in yards. This team has not been able to get 2 consecutive wins since the beginning of the season when they played a group of 5 team in a power 4 team. You beat Tennessee, you beat Mississippi State, but you lose to A&M, you lose to LSU, and now you lose to Ole Miss. It's just so hard to read where they are, and naturally I have to say the stock is down.
Stock is down for inconsistency, and I will give them a bit of a leeway and a bit of a pass. I mentioned it. Taylor Green rattled, taken out. Malachi Singleton played well, all things considered, came into the game and did fine. It didn't help Jaquindon Jackson was out. Braylon Russell not fully there when he got into the game, had to come out. So, they weren't playing at their peak, but they were at home. The defense, it was no excuse for how they let guys just run free all game. So, Arkansas trending down. Unfortunately, we love them pigs. Pigs on here. So, hate to see it for them.
It's tough for Hog Nation. Looking at some of the there's 2 teams that played group of 5 teams, OU and Miss State. Overall, I say it's neutral, just given the competition. Some highlights there. Jackson Arnold played pretty well. Van Buren, I think Mississippi State, they got something here with him and Coach Levy. He's a true freshman. He played pretty well. Johnny Daniels got involved in that game, and so they won both games. Not enough to move the needle, but neutral. You didn't go down.
Yeah, Mississippi State. They maybe wanted to see a little bit more. They started out a little soft in that one. I know. There were players decommitting in the stands of that game. Allegedly. Some decommit since then. Some wide receiver decommit since the game. It's a UMass team that you should have beat up on. You kind of did. So the stock is slightly down for me there. I think Oklahoma is more neutral. Team that stock up though. Talk about Vanderbilt. First bowl eligible season in 6 years since 2018, and they've earned it. They went, Pavia now 3-0 against Hugh Freeze.
That's
Saw
his
him
trout.
talking about it after the game.
That's his trout.
Yep. I mean, look, Hugh Freeze does not have his number. He got Hugh Freeze's number, and it's unfortunate for Auburn because they find themselves in a very tough spot on the season, and I really started to question Hugh Freeze's job. I mean, he's done nothing better than Brian Harsin did.
Yep.
It's hard to feel like he's the guy you roll with. It seems like recruits are okay, but it's not getting any easier. It's not getting any better as the season goes on.
It's really not, right? And so, from a stock down perspective, we're in the same boat. Auburn's stock has not really been up all season. We've only done a couple stock up, stock down segments, but there hasn't been a ton of bright spots. You only get 1 touchdown in this game. They were able to hold KLS to under 100 yards. And it's just you don't have the intimidation factor of your home field advantage. Like you watch the South Carolina game, it's hard to go into South Carolina and get a win. And you're Auburn. prestige-wise, you are higher prestige-wise in the SEC. This is a prime time job, and I if I'm an Auburn fan, I'm questioning if, like you said, if Hugh Freeze is the guy for this job, given what this role allows you to do recruiting-wise. You're less than 2 hours from Atlanta. You got good recruits in Alabama. You got good recruits close by in Florida. This is not the type of performances you expect to see week in and week out. And there wasn't a ton of bright spots in this game. You got players, fighting with people at the end of the game after they lost. It's just not a good feeling, down there in War Eagle Nation. On the other side, Vanderbilt, it's weird, right? We did a poll, and I think 80% of the people on our poll, I think I screenshotted it before the game started around noon, picked Vanderbilt, confidently picked Vanderbilt. So we appreciate all the votes that happened in the community tab, but they're meeting, there's expectations, and they are meeting them. It's crazy to see.
Bro, we sat on here last week and we're like, why is Auburn favored in this game?
Right.
I don't know. Yeah. It was a shocking one to me. Hopefully some people made some money on that because Vanderbilt dominated that game all the way through. So good for them. Now,
and so for Auburn to get their stock up, they got Texas A&M and Alabama. UL Monroe to me is not going to help your stock. I'm sorry.
It's not. In the other two games, good luck. Good luck.
Yeah.
So we talked about this earlier. I know you got some things to talk about. We're going to talk a little bit about Georgia. Georgia, man, it's a 14-point win. They didn't cover the spread.
Yep.
It didn't even feel like a 14-point win. I mean, it's not the way the game went.
It's not the way the game went. It was, like I said, it was 2020 with 5 minutes left. I don't love the if this person stayed healthy game. I mean, you're very familiar with that. If we talk Alabama, Texas 2 years ago when Quinn Ewers went down, and the Texas fans all season were like, well, if Quinn didn't get hurt. But this game, bringing it back to right now, DJ Lagway had this team rolling. This offense was able to score on Georgia's defense, and the offense on the offensive side, it was less about the Georgia defense. It's more about the Georgia offense. It's getting stagnant. It's getting stagnant. Last season, Carson Beck had 6 interceptions all season. This year, he has 11. He had 3 turnovers in his past game. It's just there's more to be desired there. So I don't want to say stock down. I'm gonna say neutral.
Yeah, team maybe stock up, but I mean, Lagway was throwing that deep ball. I mean, if he stayed in that game, they win the game. I hate to say the shoulda, coulda, woulda. I'm with you there. But then you get into Aiden Warner, who we're going to talk about more in depth here later. But and he comes in and still can run down and score on you. Has an opportunity in the tie ball game, to go down. It's a Georgia team that could be much better than they are. And you hear Carson Beck after the game, he's like, they couldn't really stop us unless I turned over the ball. It's like, brother, that's the problem. You're right.
Right.
Your team is kind of winning in spite of you. You're winning, you're leading drives at the end of games, but you're putting your team in a position to where you have to do that.
If I'm a Georgia fan, it's tough because I feel like if I'm a passive Georgia fan and I'm watching them play these games, they're dominant. They dominated Texas. They handled business against Florida. A lot of it is the defense. But if I'm a rational Georgia fan, I'm looking at this team and saying, is the midnight hour going to strike us when it comes to these turnovers, and we play in Oregon, or we play a good Texas team again, or we play someone else in the playoffs that maybe has some offensive prowess to take more advantage of these turnovers? That to me is a little bit of a concern compared to the play we've seen from Stetson Bennett in the past, right?
Yeah.
And some of these other quarterbacks have come through this program, Jake Fromm, Aaron Murray, just being honest. And I think a lot of Georgia fans feel the same way.
Yeah, I mean, they saw Jaden Rashad warming up on the sideline and thought maybe he had a shot. And I hate to get on here because we do it all the time. It's like Georgia wins a football game, and then we get on here and we have to talk down on them because it's like, you're the number 2 team in the country. The game shouldn't look like that.
No.
And I think Carson Beck has it in him to not put the game in that position offensively. I think that the defense has the pieces to not do that defensively and let a team like Florida with their 3rd string quarterback and backup running backs, run down the field and score on them. It's not as dominant as they could be, as they should be, as they want to be, as fans expect. I've seen a lot of people online talking down on Carson Beck in all kinds of ways.
And I think the expectation was that he was going to be the best quarterback in the SEC this year. It was between him and Quinn Ewers. Brady Cookson that was in that discussion. Jalen Milroe was in that discussion. I think objectively, everybody thought Carson Beck was going to be the best. And I don't think that your expectations should always penalize you to the reality, but the expectations have to be equal to how you were last year or better. For Beck, it's a little bit tough. And so for me, Georgia, that was kind of the story of that game. It was close because of the mistakes. It wasn't necessarily fully close because of other mistakes across the rest of the game from the defense, from the running back position. To me, that was a story from that game from a Georgia perspective.
So you were talking about Florida. Where do you sit on Florida? Because they performed well in this game to standard of what was maybe expected given the pieces. So how do you feel about Florida?
Yeah, I would say for Florida, I mean, I think I don't know how, I can't speak for you. I'm going to say stock up. I'm feeling pretty good about Billy Napier the last couple of weeks of what we've seen. That Tennessee game could have gone either way. I think they could have won that game. You take care of business. This past week against Kentucky, you played a really good game against Georgia. Not many people believe that you were going to be in this game. And it's just unfortunate that you're down to your third string quarterback and Aiden Warner, who had some moments where he shined and had moments where he's a freshman quarterback or redshirt freshman quarterback. So it's expected he's going to make mistakes. So to me, their stock is up. The running game looked good. Built upon that from last week. So that's kind of my thoughts there.
Yeah, and no full word right now on Lagway's situation, and we're going to talk more about that. I think for me, the stock is down slightly, and it's not based on capability, it's not based on skill, it's not based on talent, it's not based on what I think Napier's been able to do. I'm not rewarding moral victories right now at this point for them. I think that this was a moral victory that they need to ride because they have a tough road ahead. To me, the only reason the stock is down is based on availability. You're on QB3. While he looked good in moments, it's not your game plan. Walk on transfer. To me right now, you're fine. You're in a tough position where really you're not going to be expected to win many more games except for Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
And you're rolling with kind of the backups. So to me, the stock is down just based on availability.
Yeah. I'll give that to you. I mean, I definitely get that. I think from who this team's going to feel going forward, yes, you're objectively down. If you're down to your third string quarterback, I think any team in the country stock would be down. I'm going to go off of just how they've looked as football players. They've played significantly better football compared to week 2 against A&M, compared to when they played Mississippi State. Even though they won, it still was kind of it was okay football. This team is light years away from the team we saw play Miami week 1.
Morale is high.
Morale is high. They're playing good football. They're crushing through this gauntlet of a schedule. They played Georgia a lot closer than you think. So to me, I'm going to say stock up. But I understand from viability. Yes, this team is less dangerous with Aiden Warner than DJ Lagway to me.
Okay, that was all the teams that played this week. Interestingly, I have 2 teams that I want to put in a slight stock up from bye week, and you're going to think I'm crazy for this.
I have in my notes too. I'm already knowing who's going to be. Go ahead.
All right. I think Alabama and LSU stock up.
Yep.
And I think it's because of the week that they have coming up and coming into this. And now there's limited playoff spots, A&M losing. They're now 2-loss team. You see some weaknesses with other teams. I think right now they both move up a little bit because they move in the rankings. Alabama now at 11 in the AP poll. I think that they're going to be maybe around that come Tuesday. So I think their stock is up just based on where the conference sits and their future position.
Yeah, I think their stock is up based upon where the conference is in the future position. I think it's also up because they moved up in the AP from my side, right?
Okay.
Alabama moved up a couple spots in the AP. LSU moved up 2 spots in the AP. This is a season. Sometimes I wish the division still existed. I would love to see Alabama play Ole Miss. I'd love to see them play Texas A&M so we could have more of that definitive, they're better, right? Yeah. LSU is a natural SEC West rivalry, so they're playing it. It's great. But some of these other teams, I wish they could keep playing them. They play Tennessee every year from the SEC East, right? I just want to see it. I kind of miss it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm in the same boat with you. They're both up for sure.
Yeah, I think LSU will be behind A&M come Tuesday. I think that the AP poll is, it's a combination of a bunch of different people's votes and where the teams sit. I think when a bunch of people get in the room and they're sitting at 14 and 15 and one beat the other. Yeah. So there will be some changes come Tuesday, but still, I think that right now, based on what they have coming up, they're up.
I think their stock's definitely up 100%. I was hoping we get to a little bye week stock up, stock down.
Yeah,
segment.
I wasn't gonna.
I had Bama moved up without even playing. They're sitting at 11. Right, the season ended. They'd be in the playoffs right now. So stock definitely up for both of those programs.
I wasn't gonna forget them.
And hey, LSU beat South Carolina. A&M didn't, but A&M also beat LSU. So we'll
see what happens next week.